Hey guys, Planter TCG here, trying to make a video today going over my most recent league challenge at Trainer's Backpack at Oviedo Mall. So stay tuned, would love to go over the matchups that I had today, the deck I used, and alongside with that, the rank and record that I had. So the deck that I chose for my most recent league challenge was Charizard EX. For those of you who don't know what the deck does or what it is, it has two primary focal points of Charizard EX and Pidgeot EX. Charizard EX is our main attacker of the deck and is also important in the late game. As your opponent starts taking more prize cards, you're able to hit for much more. Alongside with that, Pidgeot EX is pivotal in using its ability called Quick Search, which allows you to choose any card out of your deck. So going over my matchups today, my first round opponent was playing Chin-Pao EX. Unfortunately, this first round resulted in a loss, primarily because I had two Charmanders benched and I was canceling Cologne on my mana fee. Alongside with that, the Radiant Greninja was able to attack both of my Charmanders on my bench, which limited my ability to pull up Charizard EX. Although losing to Chin-Pao in round 1 was pretty depressing, my second round opponent was playing Roaring Moon EX, and I was able to come away with a win, primarily going after his Darkrai. Instead of using the Galarian Moltres, my opponent was using Darkrai to end up using the Darkrai V-Star ability to grab items out of the discard pile. So I ended up taking care of the Darkrai, and then he was able to get it back on its bench, just ended up bossing ordering it again, and then ultimately won the prize race. Going into round 3, I'm already 1-1, feeling pretty optimistic about my chances for the remainder of the day. My third round opponent was playing Miraidon EX. Miraidon doesn't really have the greatest matchup against Charizard, primarily because it has a lot of two-prize attackers. For my opponent, he was able to set up his bench pretty quickly just because Miraidon's able to do that, and unfortunately he left up quite a bit of liabilities, primarily of Squawkabilly EX in his active, which I was able to knock out with my Charizard, which then he returned with Raichu V, which is able to knock out my Charizard, and then I returned pretty much all the remainder of the KOs for the remainder of the match with my other Charizard EX that I had set up on the bench. Going into my fourth round, I'm 2-1, and unfortunately I'm going against a deck that I'm all too familiar with and pretty arduous to play against, which is Gardevoir EX. As a Charizard player, this is a deck that I'm really not crazy about, just primarily because it has a lot of single prize attackers that are able to do quite a bit of damage, and it takes a lot for me to be able to secure the win. I took an approach today that was a little different from what I've done in the past. My previous challenges in local tournaments, I've been pretty fast in regards to how I respond to Gardevoir EX, and I'm very aggressive. Today, I kind of took more of a backseat approach to tackling the deck, and I kind of allowed my opponent to start taking some prize cards just so that they didn't have the ability to use Counter Catcher or Reversal Energy to be able to knock out my Charizard EXs. This unfortunately ended up in a tie, better than a loss, but it would be nice to have taken the win. However, it ended up being a tie just primarily because of my backseat approach. It resulted in very slower play in my regards and not taking as much prizes as I wanted to. So there was a total of 5 rounds in the league challenge that I participated in today, and going into my 5th round matchup, I was going up against Lost Zone Tina. This is a deck that I'm very familiar with, primarily because it was the first deck that I ever built, so I'm very familiar with how the deck runs and what you're looking for your opponent to do. However, I was able to secure my last win of the day primarily because my opponent made a mistake of benching 2 Giratina Vs, which ended up allowing my prize mapping to avoid a Roxanne at that awkward 3 prize cards that occurs if you're taking a single prize knockout and then a Giratina V. I was able to knock out both of those Giratina Vs. I did end up getting Roxanne, however, it truly didn't matter because I had a boss's order in hand for game. At the end of the day, my record was 3 wins, 1 tie, and 1 loss. And my final record, I believe, or how I placed was 5th out of 21 people. So definitely a pretty high ranking, and obviously first would have been the best. However, I'm always wanting to improve and get better at the game, and I feel that my deck was pretty consistent today and allowing me to perform at a really, really good level. So I was also able to walk away with one of these prize packs Series 4, which I will be opening up on my YouTube Shorts page, and feel free to check out that content. And again, appreciate you guys watching the video today, and feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye-bye.